their descriptions are not very clear. And the problem I found with the device, because it said it was in great condition, however, the ends are cracked. You see this? This is cracked. I'm not supposed to be able to take off the bottom plate with this on, okay? And if you see here, you see my finger? This is the panel gap on the left panel. I have a place that I could order the parts to replace these because this one's also a little loose. And I realized that this is what's been rattling this whole time. It's not messing with the key bed because the key bed feels great, but it's still loose. So I'm gonna replace the side panels. I have a place I found that I'm gonna order them from and tighten it up. I'm gonna show you some of the other stuff that I found as an issue. Just give me a moment. So that did it. That looseness I felt with the keyboard was because the side panels are damaged. Like I was telling you, that wasn't in the picture. That wasn't in the picture. And there's another one over here somewhere that I noticed. But regardless, I'm not upset about it because, things happen. It's an old keyboard. It can come in pristine condition, but most of the time, that's not the case. Now, the other thing that I have to deal with, which is annoying, is the knobs. The knobs are not in the best shape. Now, these are notoriously known to get loose in one way or another, but these still function. So what's most likely happened is the nut around the housing has gotten loose, and I'm gonna have to open it up and reseat things because it's only these. And you can tell this is whoever the person was who had this, these were their 3 favorite knobs because they are loose. The other one, there's number 4. He or she had 4 favorite knobs. 1, 2, 3, and 4. The volume, the level and peak of the mix in input, the cutoff of the cutoff or the arpeggiator range, and the attack or the accent time. Mind you, these are also effects controls. This thing comes packed with a massive effects suite for its time. And let me tell you, most of us who owned a Phantom didn't fully understand this thing. So the thing we didn't understand was there was a manual that came with this. And the manual, I kid you not, I was working for a store in Maryland where we sold keyboards and all sorts of digital gear. I was the home keyboard manager at the store when this thing was announced and released. And one of the things we do in the store was we read the manual. We're supposed to read the manual so we understand how this thing works, how it can help you, so we can sell it to you. Nobody could fully understand the manual. It was almost like Roland took the manual, wrote it in Japanese and said, oh, let's throw it in a translator. And whatever the translators spit out, they just said, print it. And because of that, there's a lot of stuff in the manual that doesn't make sense. So a lot of people didn't read the manual. And that was kind of a sad thing because even myself, I use this extensively. I actually made a lot of records on this thing and I didn't even know half the features it had until recently when another YouTuber pointed it out. And I was like, what? Before I even turn it on, you basically have with this machine, you have a dynamic set of drum pads, which they're not the greatest feeling, but they do work. Like I said, built into this one that I purchased, it has the Ultimate Keys and the World Collection. These are 2 amazing expansion cards, and they are built into the unit, so I don't have to buy those, and I have 4 extra banks to fill up. This thing had so many features. The sampler in here is bonkers. So this thing, just for history reasons, most companies are lazy. And what I mean by that is not in the sense of design or anything like that, in the sense of if something ain't broke, why are you trying to fix it? They went ahead and took the same engine that ran, the motherboard and everything that ran the Roland MV8000 and eventually the 8800 and I believe the MC909, and then just put it in here. So this thing had the architecture of how the MV8000 ran built in. That's ridiculous. Because if you know anything about the MP8000, it is a phenomenal sampler. You know, it is basically a hard drive DAW. Like you can record vocals to it in the whole nine, and this, you can do the same thing. You can actually record several tracks of audio to it. If you add the RAM, you actually get an insane amount of time. I think it's like 30 minutes or something like that. I don't remember the exact. But like I said, audio, track, expansion. This thing can literally record stuff directly to the RAM, and then you save it to the compact flash. That's ridiculous. Okay, I mean, this is in 2004, 2005. I'm not saying today. Today, that's kind of normal. But in 2004, 2005, that was crazy. It has a bunch of different features over here. I'm not going to get too deep into it right now. One of the things I loved was the ability, when you use, I think it's the core memory button. We'll dive into it once I start playing around with it more in another video. But I believe the core memory button allowed you to set it where you can play a chord by pressing one note. Like, we have that as a plugin, and I get that. But the instruments don't sound as natural. One of the things Roland is known for is how natural sounding their keyboards are. Like, the piano sounds like a piano. The string section sounds like an actual person playing the strings. You know, like, or even like the violin, it sounds like a real violin. The organs in this are fucking crazy. I haven't found a better organ sound than what I found in here. Of course, all the electric pianos and Rhodes and everything all sounds amazing. It has a D-beam. The D-beam is programmable. And the D-beam is basically where you can wave your hand over this at different heights and different directions, and it affects it. I've only gotten it to make this really weird squirrely sound, but you can assign it to do different things. Like, you can be playing and then you can just hit a hi-hat. You know what I mean? Like, or hit a snare or kick or whatever. It's crazy, its features. It also had the V-Link feature. The V-Link feature allowed it to connect this keyboard to any other V-Link device. V-Link was a video feature that allowed you to control video effects on the screen. So while let's say you're playing a performance, you could actually add visualizations to your actual performance. And this did this. Most people didn't know how to do it because of the goddamn manual. But this thing, and people always talk about old gear and how long it takes to load. It's really not that bad. I mean, like, this is not terrible. Yes, this screen is flashing and shining, and yeah, this is completely unnecessary. But even beyond that, once it actually starts loading the sounds, it's not terrible. It's like, I'm not sure how much more instantaneous you really want it to be. It even counts down over here. Like, it started at the bottom and it's just counting down what's left. And then once it's done, boom, it pops up. It starts up in the normal workstation mode. And just so you understand, you can choose whether you're controlling the keyboard or the pads and decide what drum kit you want on the pads. So I can literally pick a different drum kit, and there's a bunch in here that are pretty good. I actually have a lot of these sampled out into Logic for me to use, and some of them are up on my website for you to pick up and use. They're amazing sounding drums. Roland makes some of the best drums in the industry. Or I can go back to the patch. There's a patch list option where you can literally do it by category. I can go through the categories and pick it. And in the categories, there's tons of sounds, Or if I go back out, I can go to favorites. Now, the previous person had one thing as a favorite. I'll end up clearing that at some point. You have parts level. Parts level, determines how loud the keyboard or the pads are, right? You can go into the control settings. I'm gonna close this. You can go into control settings and adjust how the D-beam behaves, or what it's supposed to, what the functions are of it. I've never dove into this because I just didn't have the time. At the time, I was just really focused on what I was doing. And then you set it and you forget about it, Let's say I wanted to use this for performance reasons. I can literally pick 4 different instruments and set their key range on the keyboard for how it's going to behave. And if you notice down here, see that little right there? That's the dBm. I can tell it, how I want parts to behave with the dBm and mess with it. If I go into the parts view, it gets deep fast. There's 16-part multi-timbral. This keyboard is nuts. And this is 2004. I'm just gonna keep going there. Your inputs, your outputs, how you want the pitch for each section, how you want to offset it if there's something that needs to be offset for whatever reason. Oh, let's adjust the key range, the scale of the tune. Oh, you know what? Let me figure out how I want it to affect things on an external basis. How should it affect the external, another module or whatever? And then there's MIDI filters that I can play with, right? Or you know what? I'm working on a record and I'm ready to just mix the record. I can go to the mix screen and literally look at it from this perspective and adjust, each level of each one. I can literally go through all of them one by one and affect the actual mix. It gives you the basics, which is basically chorus, reverb, and pan, but you can go even deeper into it to see more of the features because you can actually put an EQ and various other effects onto the actual channel. I can go in here and actually figure out more of the assignments of the outputs for this. We're getting way too deep for no damn reason on a keyboard from 2004. Song mode is an interesting feature because you could see things by track per bar. So it doesn't show you the detailed data here. In this mode, I should be able to see the MIDI data. I might be wrong on this because, again, it's been years since I've used this thing. But one of these screens will actually show you the MIDI data of each track as you're recording it for the actual recorder. And then the audio tracks, this thing has 8 tracks of recordable audio. You can actually record 8 channels of audio into this thing or resample that stuff into this thing. And then another feature that I didn't know existed in here was the ability to not only resample, but also to master the audio. And I'm going to the wrong place to find these things because, again, I'm just trying to go through the machine. Today's day 1 with the machine. I forgot how it works. So I'm learning how it works all over again. But you literally have all of the routing at your disposal for how you want things to work. You can pick your effects, whether they're in or not. You can go to resample. Resample allows you to make a stereo mix of whatever's playing, sample it back in so you can actually create a new version that you can chop up for other reasons. If you want to mix it down, you can mix it down and export it. I want to divide the audio. There's a whole bunch of other options here on how you want to do that. Yeah, so I'm just gonna have to really dig deep into it again. I'm gonna find a manual online and just fiddle around with it. But overall, I'm not upset with what I purchased. It's in great condition. I have a bunch of samples that I need to reload. The smart thing to do, I'm gonna reload one of my old sessions on here because I have 2 records that you guys have heard online that I made on here that I'm gonna reload. That way I can see what I did. And then I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, that's right. And then all of a sudden it starts to become clearer and clearer again. These are some of the best feeling keys that I've felt from a 61 key keyboard in a long time. I know a lot of guys who still use this keyboard as their MIDI trigger for software, which is crazy to me because of how powerful this actually is. A lot of people just don't know what this could do. So I'm going to go deep into it a little bit more in another video or 2 a little bit later on. There's a lot going on, and tomorrow is a big party at the house, so I don't have time to really dig into this today. But I'm definitely going to do that. And I'll go do a deep dive on this a little bit more. I'm also going to do that on all the other things that I use, and eventually I'm going to be adding another synth to this to pair with it and the 5000. The 5,000 is going to move off the desk and it's going to move to where this keyboard is going to be. So they're going to work together. I love that pair. That pair. The sequencer here is great, but using this for various sounds with the MPC's sequencer is even better. But it doesn't mean this can't do it by itself. If you like what I've been talking about, like, share, and subscribe, and join me next time on Petrol Media. I love talking about gear. Eventually, I'm going to post a couple things about the drones. I know you guys see all the drone parts all around the place around here. We'll talk and we'll get into that a little bit, but the main focus of the channel is the music production. And I'm just excited to really get some of the old stuff that I loved back. Catch you guys next time.